Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Gibbs, and I am passionate about helping scholarly mamas like you navigate your journeys with purpose so you can achieve your life and academic goals without sacrificing what matters. The reality is that scholarly mama life is multidimensional. We're scholars, yes, but we're also mothers, wives, and so much more with whole lives outside of academia. So how do we successfully navigate all this? Well, first, we need the space to embrace this unique blend. Only then can we begin the important work of becoming purposefully whole. And part of my own purposeful work is to create a space for us as scholarly mamas to grow, to reflect, and to become everything that we were meant to be. So, mama, are you in? Fabulous. Let's begin. These are our journeys of becoming. Hey, mamas. Welcome to the 52nd episode of this podcast. Honestly, if you told me a year ago that I would be recording my 52nd episode of this podcast, I would not have believed you. I would not have believed you. I cannot believe that it's been a whole year since I began this journey. And so much has happened in the year that I have been hosting this podcast. For those of you who were with me from the very first episode, first of all, thank you so much for your loyalty. Thank you for sticking around and just, wrapping up for the ride, really. Thank you for being here. And for those of you who are new to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast, this is just a space that I created to connect with mamas who are on scholarly journeys, mamas who are on doctoral journeys, PhD journeys, or to be honest, any scholarly journey, to share, my own experiences of what I've been through on those journeys myself, and also to allow some space for all of the thoughts and the feelings and the circumstances and all the things that we go through as scholarly mamas. I wanted this to be that space where you feel connected to someone who has navigated this journey, who has done it, not an easy way, right? But who's done it, and that you can believe that it's possible for you as well. You can see what's possible. I don't even know why, but for some reason, I have really struggled in thinking about what to share in this episode. And normally I'm quite prolific with things that I share on this podcast. They just come to me, and maybe it's from lived experience. I am not an expert in, all things, but I share with you the things I've been through. I share with you my perspectives on things. And of course, it's up to you to take what's relevant and what applies to you and leave what doesn't. But one thing is for sure, I am going to be myself on this podcast. So apologies in advance if everything doesn't resonate. That is not my goal. My goal is to be authentic and to be as honest with you as I possibly can be about this journey, about what I've learned along the way, and about how I can help others like yourself navigate your journeys as well with purpose, so that you can finish well, so that you can finish without sacrificing what really matters to you, so that you can not have to give up the things that you love just so that you can achieve some kind of title or accolade. And so I struggled to find focus for this episode. I struggled to think about, okay, what should I focus on? Because I have so many thoughts about what I want to share from a year of podcasting. If you haven't listened to any of my previous episodes, this is my open invitation to you. You are more than welcome to go ahead and listen to some of the previous episodes. If any of the titles jump out at you, please do have a listen. And if you do have a listen and you enjoy what you hear, please do feel free to leave a kind, thoughtful review so that the podcast is, you know how the algorithms work, right? So that the podcast is rolled out to others who actually might find it useful as well. So if you can leave a really short review, it shouldn't take you more than a minute or two, I would appreciate it so much. Honestly, I really, from the bottom of my heart, would appreciate that. And, I'm just so grateful that you found your way here. Okay, so having declared the fact that I have no script for this episode, I normally prepare my notes in advance so that I know what I want to say in the episode. But today I haven't done that because I wanted this to come from my heart, right? I wanted this to be as authentic as possible because I am so incredibly proud of reaching this little mini milestone of 52 podcast episodes. So yeah, even though I'd normally have my notes to guide me through, I don't have any of that. This is going to be another raw episode. I did do a raw episode back when I submitted my thesis, and that's one of the things I'm going to talk about in this episode, because that's something that happened during the year of, hosting this podcast. Okay, so let me just take you back to last year this time. So last year this time, I was just weeks away from submitting my thesis. I submitted my thesis on the 5th of May last year, 2023. And so it's now, at the time of recording this, it's now March 2024. So this time last year, March 2023, I was in the thick of it, right? I was working part-time. And I was doing my PhD part-time, and I was finishing up some of the edits on some of the draft chapters that I'd already written, and I was just pulling it all together, and I just felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. I talked about this on a recent Instagram story, so if you do follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that, but I think it's in my highlights. But I just felt the weight of the world on my shoulders because work was really busy. There was a lot to still finish up with the edits for my thesis. And also it was just, because I'd spent so much time on my PhD that, it took me quite a few years to get to this point. It felt like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I am about to submit my thesis. Like, it's been 8+ years I've been working on this thing. And well, not 8+ years working on the thesis, 8+ years working on the PhD. And I spent 16 months writing my thesis, and that was part-time, obviously, but I spent 16 months writing my thesis, and it was just pulling it all together. And so it was also the run up to my 40th birthday. And so I wanted to enjoy that moment, wanted to enjoy that time with my family. And we did. We enjoyed that because for me, it's, anybody who has been following me or listening to this podcast, that one of my, philosophies is, why should we have to sacrifice our families and our time with our families, or even just looking after ourselves? Why do we have to sacrifice those things just because we're doing a PhD? There must be a way of doing this without sacrificing those things. And one of the reasons why I started my podcast when I did, I started my blog back in 2021. And one of the reasons why I started the blog back in 2021 and started the podcast last year was because I wanted you guys to go through the journey with me. I didn't want to reach the finish line and then be like, hey, look at this. Here's how you can do your PhD without sacrificing what matters. Like, I wanted you, all of you wonderful mamas, I wanted you guys to go through the journey with me. And so that's why I started my blog back in 2021 and why I started the podcast last year. Not when I finished, not after the fact, right? I wanted to start it during the process because I wanted you to see that you are more than your PhD. I wanted you to see that it's possible to do purposeful work. It is possible to be your authentic self. It's possible to embrace all that you are and all that you can be, even when you are in the throes of your PhD journey, even when you are in the thick of all of it, right? And this is important for me because I don't want you to think that you can only enjoy your life after you finish. You can only have joy, happiness, feel worthy after you finish your PhD. You are worthy right now. You are worthy right now. And I've had to do a lot of internal work to even get to that point because I've been through a lot of things in my life where I didn't necessarily feel worthy. And I think when you accept yourself for who you are, when you realize that you have so much more to offer this world than just getting a title or an accolade or just finishing a PhD or getting the recognition for the amazing work that you've done, when you recognize that you're actually more than all of that, that is when you can truly shine. That is when you make your highest contribution. That is when you are what I call purposefully whole. Because, just neglecting everything that matters for the sake of a title, an accolade, what is that worth when you've lost everything else? It's not worth anything, right? And so one of the things that I had to embrace last year when I started this podcast was I had to embrace the journey into the unknown. Now, that can apply to a PhD journey, right? It also applied to me starting this podcast. I had no idea where it was going to lead to. I didn't have this kind of grand plan for the podcast necessarily. I just knew that I wanted it to be a purposeful space and I wanted to inspire and encourage other mamas who were navigating this journey because we know how hard this truly is. Those of us who have done it or those of us who are in the thick of it, we know how hard this journey is, especially as a mother. And so I knew that I wanted it to be a purposeful space in that way. And so what was it like to journey into the unknown? Well, I can talk about this from so many perspectives, but I'll focus on just the podcast and the PhD perspective. It's scary. It's scary. It's uncertain. It's difficult when you think about, doing a PhD and being a mom, trying to be present for your kids, trying to build your relationships, trying to do all of the things and wear all of the hats. And it can become a really heavy load to carry, a really heavy mental load to carry. And so it's difficult. It's, as I mentioned, uncertain because there is no guaranteed path at the end of all of this. I didn't know where the podcast is going to lead. I didn't even know if I was going to keep it going for this long. I did not know where necessarily I was going to take my PhD once I finished. I had various thoughts and I met with a career coach during the final stages of my PhD, but it really was down to me to decide where I wanted to take my post-PhD journey, right? And I'm still navigating that now. Also, the journey into the unknown, it costs. It costs time, it costs money, it costs energy, and sometimes it even costs relationships. And so this is the thing, there's a lot of people out there who will try to make you think that this is so easy, they just, somehow did it with not a sweat on the brow. It was just a walk in the park. And this really frustrates me, to be honest, because I know firsthand how hard this is. Yes, I found a way through it, and I am more than happy to share how I did that, why I did that, why I made certain choices and decisions along the way. But fundamentally, it was not an easy journey. And it annoys me when people make it seem like it was such a walk in the park, because when you are the person who has been struggling through, when you're the person who has navigated this struggle for so long, the last thing you want to hear is, oh, that was so easy. Goodness, what's wrong with you? You struggling through? Gosh, this is nothing compared to this other thing that I'm working on now. Well, no, because it was hard. And I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, because that doesn't help you and it certainly doesn't help me. So the fact is that it was hard, it was difficult, but it wasn't impossible, right? That's the important thing. It was scary, it was uncertain, it was difficult, it costed, but it was not impossible. And that is the key to remember, that we can navigate this journey and we can do it well. So it's not easy, but we can do it well. What do I mean by doing it well? What do I mean by finishing it well? By that, I mean exactly what I said at the beginning, doing it in a way that allows me to enjoy the other parts of my life, doing it in a way that doesn't cost me the things that I love, the people that I love, the relationships that I value, that doesn't cost me those things just because I am navigating a PhD journey. And so one of the things I wanted to kind of touch on here was that in the pursuit of purposeful success, prestige will only take you so far. It's just the surface of the iceberg, hiding quite often the fear of not being good enough, or the feelings of unworthiness, or the fears of not achieving success in your post-PhD career, for example. I mean, it could be other things, I don't know. But what I do know is that you are navigating your PhD journey as a mama. And if you are doing that, you are a phenomenal woman, because doing a PhD with so much on your plate as a mama is no easy feat. But sometimes the load and the isolation can feel so heavy that it almost becomes easier to just focus on pursuing the prestige at all costs and following the crowd. But then what happens? You reach the finish line and you still can't find the joy you've been waiting for, or that you've been putting off. It's anticlimactic, because you thought that the prestige of your new title would have patched up all those holes. Only it didn't. And then you're back to facing the music of insecurity all over again, just on a different level, right? But what if you were enough in this moment right now, where you are, with what you have? Don't get me wrong, ambition is great, because I am right there with you with bucket loads of it, right? But you have to know, mama, that your value is not limited to your achievements. You don't have to wait for your doctor title to enjoy your life. You can navigate your scholarly journey while enjoying the beautiful moments with your spouse or partner and the kids, the time you have with them, the memories that you create together, the little things that bring you joy. Because prestige isn't the real asset here, mama. You are. Your growth on this journey, what you learn about yourself, you shedding those limiting beliefs, you learning about your strengths, you knowing what truly matters to you, your lived experiences. This is when your being turns into becoming. So whatever you do, start there. Keep working on yourself, keep learning and growing, keep investing in yourself, but most importantly, enjoy the journey. You deserve to enjoy life as a mama doing a PhD, not just when you achieve this or that, but now. You deserve that freedom, the freedom to finish well. And I just wanted to say that because I felt like even with the podcast and my PhD journey, they've all challenged me. These things have challenged me in brand new ways, right? Of course, one to a significantly greater extent than the other. So they're not necessarily comparable in that way, but they both challenged me in different ways. And I have had to just focus on enjoying the journey of it, enjoying the growth of it, enjoying all the things that I am learning and experiencing along the way. And even though it's scary and it's uncertain and it's difficult and it costs, for me, the growth is worth it. For me, the experience is worth it. And the freedom to finish well, the freedom to journey well is just a remarkable gift, really, right? And so reflecting on this year of podcasting, and by the way, like I said, I began this journey back in April last year, beginning of April. I actually recorded the episodes in March. So around this time, and I, launched it into the world, cracked on with my thesis prep, submitted my thesis. Then obviously I had a few months of preparation for my Viva, which again it was actually a really pleasant experience. Obviously, yes, it was hard. It was grueling. It was, 4 hours of grueling, but it was something that I was able to navigate really well. And I was able to finish my Viva with no compulsory amendments, which is very rare in PhD land, academic world. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really proud of the work that I was able to do. And honestly, I have so much gratitude and so much contentment with how that went. And obviously I finished my PhD, and the rest is kind of history because it's taken me to where I am right now. But one of the things that, as I reflect on this process, as I reflect on this past year, and even thinking about, again, the podcasting journey that I've been on in the last year, and the PhD journey that I spent almost a decade on, right, as a mother, is that you cannot hitch a ride to success. I'm going to say that again. You cannot hitch a ride to success. Now, I'm going to go into detail into what I mean by this. But to make it really clear, I just wanted to share with you an experience that we had a few years ago. So a couple of years ago, I was actually doing my PhD at the time, and I was going to Liverpool for some training. So for those of you who live in the UK, I am closer to the London area. So we were going up to Liverpool to do this training. And as part of that process, it was a week-long training. And so my husband and I thought, okay, well, he'll take the week off work and we'll go up there together. I'll be in the training, during the work days, but then in the evenings, I would be able to spend time with the boys and my husband. And we could all just spend that time together rather than me being away for a week. Because I think it was around the kids' half term. So the kids were not in school. My husband was off, and we thought, okay, we'll all go up there. I'll go to my training, and my husband will look after the boys during the day while I was at training, and then we'll have the evenings together. So that's what we did. And as we were going up to Liverpool, I don't know, maybe some of you who are listening to this are familiar with that area, but when we looked at the options for driving up there were two options. We could have taken the local roads, right? The local roads would have been probably full of traffic. And not probably, they were full of traffic. We know that they were full of traffic because we were navigating our way up there using GPS, and we could see that the way that we could have gone, the local way, would have been probably a much slower journey and full of traffic. If anybody knows what it's like driving long distances with Google Maps, you'll see the red on there indicating that definitely you will be sitting in some traffic. But we had the option to take a toll road. And this toll road, honestly, my husband and I joke about this all the time because we used to live in the US, and obviously the US, the roads over there are so wide and vast and large and spacious, and there's so many lanes and there's so many big roads, and even the local roads in the US are so much broader and wider than here in the UK. We've got a much smaller land mass, and so our roads are a lot smaller. Everything is on a smaller scale, right? But even aside the size of the roads or comparing driving experiences in various countries and places, I'm sure we can all relate as mamas to driving a long distance with kids in the car and just praying that you have a smooth journey, just hoping that you just get there on time. There's no delays, there's no traffic. Just thinking about how to arrive at the destination safely, but also without all of the stress, right? You just want a pleasant journey. You just want to enjoy the time en route to the destination. Anybody traveling with young kids knows that the worst thing when traveling with young kids is getting stuck in traffic. Like, it is the worst thing. So if you are traveling long distance and there is an option to avoid congestion, to have a pleasant journey without dealing with old, ruggedy back roads or potholes in the road, or, to just have a smooth, pleasant ride. And also that you can arrive at your destination on time, so you don't get there late, you don't miss your appointment, you don't miss your deadline, you get there on time. If you have that option as a mama traveling with kids in your car, believe me, you are going to take that option. And so that's what we did. We had the option of taking this toll road. It was the M6 toll road, and I think it was slightly more expensive than what I'm used to paying for toll roads. I think it was like £8 or £10 or something. But we took that option because we looked at the alternative and we realized that it was going to take us all around the world. It was going to take us probably an hour or two longer to get there. It was going to be facing lots of traffic. It was going to be on local roads. And actually, I believe it was a rainy period, and I think potentially some flooding. So by taking that toll road, we were able to thankfully avoid all of those problems. Yeah, so we did that. And I'm going to tell you the interesting thing about our journey back, because hearing all of what I've just shared, you're not going to believe the journey back. But anyway, let's focus on the journey there, and then I'll come back later to the journey back. Now, this toll road, I want you to picture, this toll road had very little traffic, if any. It felt at times that we were literally the only people on this road, because technically, in comparison to other toll roads, it felt like it was an expensive toll road. But it was definitely less traveled. There was no traffic, and it was definitely not the way that we knew. It was unfamiliar, and it was a new way for us to get there. But we went, and the reason why I share that story is because in thinking about not being able to hitch a ride to success, is being aware that sometimes when you want to get to the destination that you want to get to, right? Sometimes you may have to take a toll road. You may have to take a toll road. And that toll road may cost you. You may have to invest in yourself on that toll road. You may have to invest in the path to success by taking this toll road, right? But you know that when you take this toll road, you will get there with more ease. You'll get there with more clarity. You won't get stuck in traffic. You won't be going all around the world in circles. You know that this toll road can help you get where you want to go. And this matters when you're traveling with kids. This matters when you've got children along on this journey with you, because you want to make sure that you get to your destination, but you want to get there in the most pleasant, the most joyful, the most tolerable way possible. And that may be a toll road, right? It may be less traveled. It may not be the path that everybody else has taken. It may look different from what you expected, or it may look different from what other people have done. But knowing that it will, again, help you to get where you want to go with more ease and more clarity. And it may be a new way. It may be unfamiliar. It may be going into the unknown, as I mentioned earlier. But knowing that it can get you there with more ease and more clarity. So sometimes I've realized, as I reflect on the last year of podcasting and obviously the last decade of navigating a PhD journey as a mother, sometimes we have to invest in ourselves, sometimes we have to take the toll road. And I remember even when I was on my PhD journey, and I talk about this, I've mentioned it a couple of times over the course of hosting this podcast, but there was a time in my PhD where I felt really stuck. And, obviously I try to find solutions. I try to find a way forward. I sought advice from experts, and I ended up completely changing one of the methodology for one of my studies. I completely changed it. And in order to do that, it sounds like an easy thing to do, or just change a methodology. But the methodology that I ended up using, I wasn't familiar with it at all, never heard of it, nothing. So I want you to imagine, I already felt stuck. And I had been navigating this conundrum for quite a few months. I had spent a lot of time trying to answer the research question in this particular way, and I ended up just getting into a state of feeling stuck. Thankfully, this was quite early on in my journey, so I was able to, not necessarily get too deep into the rabbit hole, but after consultation with my supervisors and long conversations about how to move forward, I had to take the toll road. They agreed that the best option for me was to take the toll road. And in order to do this, I had to go and invest in myself. I had to go and find the experts in this methodology. I had to go and find courses to take, to sign up for, which are not a requirement in a UK PhD, by the way. And these were external courses. These were not courses in my university. I had to be intentional about this, go outside of my university, contact the experts in this field, seek support from them. And when I'm talking about seeking support, I'm talking about mentorship, one-to-one support from individuals who I believe could get me unstuck and could get me to where I wanted to go. And I ended up having to take the toll road, having to invest in myself, taking these courses. And in fact, one of the trainings that I did was actually what took us to Liverpool. So that trip I'm talking about was actually one of the reasons why we went to Liverpool, was for me to do this training. And I had to take that toll road. I had to really invest in myself. It costed me time. The training costed money, which thankfully was funded through my research grant. It costed me energy to learn the skills and to seek support from the people who could help me get unstuck, from the people who could help me move forward. And you know what? I am so grateful for the supervisors that I had, because they were so supportive, really guided me, really encouraged me to take that toll road. And I'm so glad that I did. And when I look back at my PhD journey, I am eternally grateful that quite early on, we realized something wasn't working. We needed to change and we needed to try a different way. And that toll road was so worth it in the end. And so I shared all of that to say that sometimes we encounter on this journey, as scholarly mamas, we encounter journeys that take us into the unknown. We don't know how they're going to turn out. We don't know how the experiment is going to work. We don't know what findings we're going to have and how that's going to affect the overall picture of our PhD. We don't know if the methodology that we've chosen is going to work, if it's the right one, if it's the most appropriate one. We don't know when we submit our thesis what our Viva experience is going to be like. We don't know when we finish that PhD necessarily if, the way that we thought our journey would end is actually the way that it does end. And so there's so many unknowns, but we cannot hitch a ride to success. We have to be willing to put in the work. We have to be willing to invest in ourselves. We have to be willing to invest in the vision that we have for our lives. And we have to be prepared to take the less traveled road. We have to be prepared to do the new thing, to take the route that is less familiar, to take the option that is completely unknown, to take the risk on ourselves, to actually invest in ourselves so that we can reach a state of purposeful success, so that we can finish our journey well. And so I know you're probably thinking, well, what happened on the journey back? Well, on the journey back, we were trying to get back on the cheap, right? We were trying to hitch our way to success and go back on the cheap. And so we decided to go back on the local roads, having not necessarily gone that way to get there initially. And you wouldn't believe, instead of taking us, 4 to 5 hours to get back down to London, it took us over 8 hours because the traffic was horrendous. There was flooding everywhere. We had to do diversion here, diversion there, and it took us forever. And on top of that, our son was sick in the car. We had to pull over and deal with that. Honestly, it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. And it just reminded us of why sometimes in life it's worth taking the toll road. Why sometimes on our journeys, if you want to have a pleasant experience, if you want to get there on time, if you want to just avoid all the pitfalls and the potholes, that we should take the toll road. And so that was our lesson. That was our journey back. And as I reflect on that, I think, the next time I'm going to Liverpool, I will be taking the toll road and I will be making sure that I enjoy my journey there and my journey back. So that's what happened. And so I hope this episode has helped you to be less afraid of the unknown, because yes, there is going to be uncertainty. There is going to be, fear when we're navigating some of these journeys. But mama, if you have gotten this far, you can keep going. Sometimes though, it does require that you get some external help. Sometimes it may require that you step outside of your comfort zone. Sometimes it may require that you seek support outside of what's, known to you already. And so I say all of that to say that the reason for this podcast, as we are reflecting on a whole year of podcasting, the reason this podcast was created and the reason why I have continued to pour my heart into it is because I know that there's so many other mamas out here who are literally every week looking forward to an episode to lift their spirits, to show them what's possible, to help them believe in themselves again, to remind them of what matters, to remind them that there is another way to navigate this journey, to remind them that there may be a cost, there may be a toll road ahead, but it's okay to take that toll road. And so if you are interested in joining a community of scholarly mamas who want to finish their PhDs well, who want to finish their PhDs in a way that aligns with their values, that aligns with who they are, and that they can do well. They can set examples and in a way that allows them to be examples for those behind them as well. If you want to be one of those mamas, please come and join us inside our brand new Scholarly Mamas Explore community. It's called Scholarly Mamas, but the tier is called Explore, and it's completely free. So you can join Scholarly Mamas Explore for free at scholarlymamas.com. And also, if you are so inclined, if you feel like you want that one-to-one support, that's available via our Optimum plan. And yes, there's a cost attached to that, but it's reserved for those mamas who are ready to take that next step, who are ready to elevate their scholarly mama journey and take the toll road, right? Take the toll road to ensure that they get that one-to-one support via coaching so that you can finish your PhD journey well without sacrificing the things and the people that you really care about. So I hope you found this reflective episode helpful. It has been the pleasure and the joy of my last year to serve you in this podcast. I am so grateful that you've tuned in to listen week after week. And you know that this comes from a place of gratitude for you. And I hope that you found some inspiration in listening to this podcast. Please do share it with other scholarly mamas you know. If you think anything that we discuss on here may interest somebody that you know, please do share the episode with them. But Mama, until next time, thank you for 52 episodes of goodness. Yes, we've had some replays in there when I have needed to take a break, but we have shared content every week for the last 52 episodes. So I am so grateful for you being here. I am so grateful. Please, please, please remember just how much it means to me that you have chosen to share this time with me every single week for the past year. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. Until next time, I am sending you, as always, lots of love and lots of gratitude. Take care. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Mrs. Mummy PhD podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and if you did and you want in on this movement, please head over to mrsmummyphd.com or scholarlymamas.com. If you want to do your PhD well without sacrificing yourself or those you love dearest, then you need your hands on my free training called the PhD with Purpose Webinar. When you join us inside Scholarly Mamas Explore, you'll get access to this free training and so much more. Remember, Mama, these are our journeys of becoming.